So, good day everyone. So, monopolistic competition. So, what is monopolistic competition? So, monopolistic competition characterizes an industry in which many firms offers products or services that are similar but not perfect substitutes. So, ang monopolistic competition is nag-o-offer ng products or service na parehas pero hindi perfecto yung substitutes. So, monopolistic competition's barrier to entry and exit in a monopolistic competitive industry are low, and the decision of any one firm do not directly affect those of its competitors. So, sa monopolistic competitive industry, ang desisyon ng isang firm ay hindi basta-basta nakakaapekto sa kanyang competitors or sa kanyang kakompetensya. So, monopolistic competition is closely related to the business strategy of brand differentiation. So, ang monopolistic competition is related sa business strategy of brand na sa kanilang pagdidiferensya or differentiation. So, monopolistic competition occurs when an industry has many firms offering products that are similar but not identical. So, unlike of monopoly, these firms have little power to curtail supplies or raise prices to increase profit. So, firms in monopolistic competition typically type to differentiate their product in order to achieve above market return or heavy advertising. And marketing are common among firms in monopolistic competition, and some economists characterize this as wasteful. So, understanding monopolistic competition is a middle ground between monopoly and perfect competition, a purely theoretical states and combine elements of each. The term was first used in the 1930s by economists Edward Chamberlain and Joanne Robinson to describe the competition between firms with similar but not identical product offering. So all firms in monopolistic competition have the same relatively low degree of market power. They are all price makers. So ang nasa monopolistic competition ay price maker. So in the long run, demand is highly elastic, meaning that is sensitive to price changes. In the short run, economic profit is positive, but it approaches zero in the long run. So firms in monopolistic competition tend to advertise heavily. So monopolistic competition is characterized by heavy spending on advertising and marketing, which some economists characterize as a waste of resources. So, monopolistic competition meanings that is sensitive to price changes. In the short run, economic profit is positive, but it approaches zero in the long run. So, habang ang business tumatagal, the price is sensitive or the price is changes. So, in the short run, economic profit is positive. So, as economic profit is positive, pero nag-a-approach siya into zero in the long run. So, as tumatagal, nag-a-approach siya as zero. So, firm in monopolistic competition tend to advertise heavily. So, it characterized by heavy spending advertising or marketing. So, which some of economists characterize as a waste of resources. So, that is monopolistic competition. So, next.
Good day everyone. Monopolistic competition. So, example of monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is present in many familiar industries, including restaurant, hair salon, clothing, and consumer electronics. A good example of this would be the Burger King and the McDonald's. Both are fast food chains that target similar products and services. These two companies are actively competing with one another, as well as countless other restaurants, and seek to differentiate themselves through brand recognition, price, and by offering slightly different food and drink packages. So, what is the difference between monopoly and monopolistic competition? Monopoly is when a single company dominates an industry. This lack of competition means the company can set pieces as it pleases, prices as it pleases, provided, of course, that there is demand for what it offers. The monopolistic competition is monopolistic. Competitive companies don't enjoy this luxury. Such entities must compete with others, restricting their ability to substantially hike prices and circumvent the natural laws of supply and demand. So the monopolistic competition is viewed as healthier for the economy and is much more common than monopolies, which are generally frowned upon in free market nations because they can lead to price gouging and deteriorating quality due to lack of alternative choices. So, monopolistic competition in the long run. The increase in supply and normal profits will incentivize firms to stay in the market. Prices are above MC, meaning that firms are not allocatively efficient. Saturation of the market may lead to firms being able to exploit fully economics of scale. This causes AC to be higher than if less firms and products win in the market, not productively efficient. However, there is a greater level of choice, but we may never reach the long run equilibrium because of constant changes and threats. So this is the long run.
So let's talk about demand elasticity. Due to the range of similar offerings, demand is highly elastic in monopolistic competition. Or in other words, demand is very responsive to price changes. If your favorite multi-purpose surface cleaner suddenly costs 20% more, you probably won't hesitate to switch to an alternative, and your countertops probably won't know the difference. Next, the economic profit. In the short run, firms can make excess economic profits. However, because barriers to entry are low, other firms have an incentive to enter the market, increasing the competition until overall economic profit is zero. Note that economic profits are not the same as accounting profits. A firm that posts a positive net income can have a zero economic profit because the latter incorporate opportunity cost. Monopolistic competition in the short run. Supernatural profits will attract more firms to the market. More firms will produce differentiated products, meaning more substitutes, demand more elastic. Monopolistic competition in the long run. The increase in supply and normal profits will de-incentivize firms to stay in the market. Prices are above MC, meaning that firms are not allocatively efficient. Saturation of the market may lead to firms being able to exploit full economics of scale. This causes AC to be higher than if less firms and products were in the market and not productively efficient. However, there is a greater level of choice, but we may never reach the long-run equilibrium because of constant changes and trends. In the long run, demand is highly elastic, meaning that it is sensitive to price changes. While in the short run, economic profit is positive, but it approaches zero in the long run. Firms in monopolistic competition tend to advertise heavily. Advertising in monopolistic competition. Economists who study monopolistic competition often highlight the social cost of this type of market structure. Firms in monopolistic competition expend large amounts of real research on advertising and other forms of marketing. When there is real difference between the products of different firms, but that the consumer might not be aware of, these expenditures can be useful. However, if it is instead the case that the products are near perfect substitutes, which is likely in monopolistic competition, then real resources spent on advertising and marketing represent a kind of wasteful rent-seeking behavior, which produces a deadweight loss to society. So let's talk about the characteristics of monopolistic competition. What are the characteristics of monopolistic competition? Monopolistic competitive industries generally consist of many different companies that produce products that are similar but not identical. These companies spend many of their resources on advertising to make their products stand out. Competition is rife and barriers to entry are low, meaning companies must work hard and be creative to squeeze out a profit and be aware that hiking prices too much might lead customers to opt for an alternative.
Example of monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is a form of competition that characterizes a number of industries that are familiar to consumers in their day-to-day lives. Example include restaurants, hair salons, clothing, and consumer electronics. To illustrate the characteristics of monopolistic competition, we'll use the example of household cleaning products. Competing companies say you've just moved into a new house and want to stock up in cleaning supplies. Go to appropriate aisle in the grocery store and you'll see that any given item like dish soap, hand soap, laundry detergent, surface and disinfectant, toilet bowl cleaner, and etc. is available in number of varieties. For each purchase, you need to make perhaps 5 or 6 firms will be competing for your business. The company operates in oligopolistic market structures in which there are other able and worthy competitors. For this reason, the company must always do its best to train their human resources and labor force to keep up with the competitors or even outdo them. The second example is product differentiation. Because of the products all serve the same purpose, there are relatively few options for sellers to differentiate their offerings from other competing firms. There might be discount varieties that are of lower quality, but it is difficult to tell whether the higher price options are in fact any better. This uncertainty results from imperfect information. The average consumer does not know the precise differences between the various products or what the fair price for any of them. So we have the example of product differentiation. According to this, is plays a crucial role in monopolistic competition. Differentiated products can arise from characteristics of good or service location from which the firm sells the product, intangible aspects of the product, and perceptions of the product. The third example is monopolistic competition tends to lead to heavy marketing because different firms need to distinguish broadly similar products. One company might opt to lower the price of their cleaning product, sacrificing a higher profit margin in exchange, ideally for higher sales. Another might take the opposite route, raising the price and using packaging that suggests quality and sophistication. A third might sell itself as more eco-friendly, using green imagery and displaying a stamp of approval from an environmental certifier. In reality, every one of the brands might be equally effective. Important are hair salons, restaurants, clothing, and consumer electronics are all examples of industries with monopolistic competition. Each company offers products that are similar to others in the same industry. However, they can distinguish themselves through marketing and
Special
branding.
considerations. Firms in monopolistic competition face a significantly different business environment than those in either a monopoly or perfect competition. In addition to competing to reduce cost or scaling up production, companies in monopolistic competition can also distinguish themselves through other means. Decision making. Monopolistic competition implies that there are enough firms in the industry so that one firm's decision does not require other companies to change their behavior. In an oligopoly, a price cut by one firm can set off a price war, but this is not the case for monopolistic competition. Pricing power. As in a monopoly, firms in monopolistic competition are price setters or makers rather than price takers. However, their nominal ability to set prices is effectively offset by the fact that demand for their products is highly price elastic.
So, in order to raise their prices, the firm must be able to differentiate their products from those of their competitors by increasing their quality, real or perceived. So, in order to raise their prices, so the company or the firm must able to differentiate the product from those of their competitors. So, kailangan nilang malaman kung ano yung diferensya ng product nila sa kanilang kakompetensya para ma-increase yung quality or real or perceive ng kanilang produkto or business. So, that's all. Thank you.